about motherhood. 1 minute, you're mom of the year.
I love you, Mommy.
Then the next, not so much. From bath time to bullying, from potty training to puberty, parenting is full of challenges. But one thing is for certain, you are not alone. Welcome to Modern Mom Probs. I'm your host, author, mother, parenting expert, Tara Clark. Join me while we tackle today's modern mom problems. Karen, welcome to the show.
Hi, thank you so much for having me.
I am so excited you're here. We've known each other online for years.
Yeah.
How long? When did you get started?
It's hard to know the exact year. I mean, I started writing in really any capacity in 2011. I think I came on the scene as far as I started being on Scary Mommy and some of the bigger parenting sites around maybe 2015. But I do feel like we've known each other forever. And I don't know what year we crossed paths for the first time.
Right. I would say, so if you're saying about Scary Mommy in 2015, I would say it was probably 2016 because I started my Instagram account early 2016. And I remember I had a meme of mine shared by Scary Mommy the summer of like 2016. And my friends in a chat group, like my other Instagram friends, were like freaking out. And they're like, oh my God, Tara, you got shared by Scary Mommy. Oh my God. And I was like, oh my God. And back then, like, you would get like, I don't know, like a ridiculous amount of followers from a share like that. Nowadays, it's not quite the same. But back then, it was a huge deal. I felt like I really made it at that point when I was shared by Scary Mommy.
Oh, for sure. Getting on their radar, being shared by them, writing for them, that was the big moment for a lot of us to be like, we made it.
Yeah, definitely. And you were actually, right before we hit record, you were saying that you had listened to my episode with Jill Smokler.
Mm-hmm. I mean, she's just amazing. She is a legend. And so many of us are so grateful for her because we sort of, I attribute so much of where I am today because of that big break. And Scary Mommy, I mean, she and I kind of had parallel tracks. I was on my way in when she was on her way out, really. So we never really worked necessarily together, but just her vision and willingness to share Scary Mommy with all of us. That was the moment. I just remember learning about it and being like, if I could just someday be on a big site like Scary Mommy. And then by 2020 during COVID, I mean, I was working full time there. I was running their social media. I was a staff writer. It was amazing. So I just adore her.
I adore her too. Having the opportunity to chat with her on the podcast was a dream come true for me because of what you just said there. Like, I actually was at Nickelodeon around the same time she was at Nickelodeon before she left to do Scary Mommy. So like our paths almost crossed, but not quite crossed there. And then I used to freelance making social media content for Scary Mommy back in the days of, like you said, 2020 and stuff like that. So again, didn't quite cross paths with her at that point. I think I worked for, I think it was Maria at the time. And Samantha.
Yep.
And so, I never quite like had the opportunity to meet her, but to be able to sit down and chat with her for an hour, given everything that's going on in her life right now too, I just felt like was such a blessing. I was just so grateful for her time. And she is just such a freaking rock star.
She really is.
So big love to Jill.
We love you, Jill.
Right there. We love you, Jill. We're gonna have to like send her this clip. I think that would probably make her day. So you have a new book out, which I'm going to hold up right here. What do I want to be when they grow up? So you and I are both in our mid 40s and our kids are growing up as kids want to do. What inspired you to write this book?
You know, I think it was a series of things. I have several friends who have sort of gone through the process already, and I've watched them transition. Especially my stay-at-home mom friends who did not have a career, gave up their career, walked away, put it on pause, whatever, to raise their kids. That transition to suddenly the void of what am I going to actually do when the last one, and you have one, I have three, you have one, right? I have that right?
Yes,
okay.
You're right. You're correct. Yeah, you're good.
When, actually flies the nest or whatever. Because I've watched so many of my friends go through it and I've seen how hard it's been, I've started thinking about it myself. My youngest is 12. It's not like I still have time. I'm still very much in the soup of, I have two teenagers in between. I'm crazy busy right now. So I don't have to really be I'm not in it right now, but it's coming. It's sort of, I do feel like it's coming at me like a train and I can see it in the distance. And I started realizing, this is going to be huge for me. My husband's career has continued to flourish the whole time he's been a dad, and I put my career on hold. And I don't regret that. But what does that mean for me in 6 years? And so I did this Facebook post in 2023, and I just said, this is for all the moms out there who are in that same boat. And the response was overwhelming. Women every comment was, no one's talking about this. This is my story. Exactly feeling the same thing. And so I just kind of felt like this whisper in my mind of, let's just turn this into a book. Even though I don't have all the answers, I feel like sometimes any answers, but I do feel like I can at least say, let's all sit in this space together. Let's talk about it. My book is a series of very short chapters that I say are sort of like a series of tiny therapy sessions. Like, these are some things I've been a mom for 16 and a half years. These are some things I've learned. I've been a wife for 20 years. These are some things I've learned, and they may help you, they may not, but, sort of like as if I'm sitting next to you on the couch, like a girlfriend, like, let's just talk about this. And yeah, kind of went from there.
And that's what we're talking about. Yeah. That is, we're girlfriends sitting on the couch talking about this. It's interesting too, because as you were speaking, I had so many different thoughts. Obviously, I always have a lot of thoughts running through my head concurrently, but I'll pick one and go with that. One is, you haven't gone through it completely yet, right? Like, your kids aren't, let's say, 30 years old, where now you're like, okay, now really what I'm doing. So we're sort of doing this process with you, right? I also have a 12-year-old. So our children, or at least the youngest, are the same age. So we're still in that busy phase. We're not to the point where they are, let's say, at college or have moved out or, have careers. So it's still definitely an ongoing process. So I like that we're doing this together. You, me, our communities, we're doing this together. And then the other thought I was having was this morning when I was prepping for our call, thinking about that question for myself, which is, what do I want to be when he grows up? Because I only have one, right? So I'll just say, when he grows up. And I thought to myself, I actually don't know. I don't know for many reasons, because one, when he is older, my modern mom problems will be different from other people's modern mom problems. Right. And so do I even then at that point want to still be in that space, in that parenting space, when you've moved on? So that it poses a lot of questions for me and my career, let alone, if I was a full stay-at-home mom, which I am, and I'm working mom, obviously, but if I was a full stay-at-home mom, and then you look at yourself and say, okay, now what?
Yeah. Well, I think the other big motivator and sort of backdrop to why I felt like this is an important conversation is because, for me, the stay-at-home mom transition I was a teacher, loved being a teacher, and I worked until the day before my first son was born. That shift was so abrupt and so challenging. And I spent years struggling as a stay-at-home mom and not knowing why I was struggling as much as I was. And it wasn't until so many years in and a lot of self-reflection and a lot of learning about myself that I started putting all the pieces together. And I talk about that a lot in the book. So here I'm thinking, okay, here's another big change coming my way. Let me learn from the other change that was pretty brutal, because I didn't know how to prepare and I didn't know what it was going to be like, and at least learn about myself, identify what my core needs are, and be a little bit more prepared. Not to say that it won't still be hard. I cried. My oldest is in 10th grade. I cried the summer before he started high school, the whole summer. And it wasn't the end of really anything. He's still around all the time, but just the fact that I was like, this is the last chapter. These 4 years are going to go by in a blur. I cannot cope. I'm a hot mess about it. So I know this is going to be hard regardless of how much I prepare myself for it, but at least I can anticipate. I've already been through one really hard thing that damn near broke me. Let's sort of do some prep work now, knowing that this next big change is coming. So, but yes. And also to your point, and I want to make sure this is clear. We don't need to have this figured out by the time our last baby is 18 years old. I think we put a lot of pressure on ourselves throughout all of motherhood to do it right and get it right and all these things. This should not be another burden on our shoulders. I said this in a podcast recently. This should be more of a gift we're giving to ourselves. Like, take a little bit of time, learn about yourself, learn about why you may have struggled in various ways, and give yourself the gift of figuring out, as you do start to approach this next phase, how you can best serve yourself and not feel like, but I have to have it all figured out, because I have no idea what I'll be doing in 6 years or 10 years. You know?
Well, that's the thing too. You're like, gosh, that is such a it feels like such a long time from now, but you'll blink and then it won't be, because 12 years ago when the babies were born, it seems like both a lifetime ago and just yesterday at the same time.
Absolutely. I was just telling my neighbor across the street, she has these adorable little 4-year-old twins, and they remind me so much of my son, who's 12 and a half. And I'm like, it's like yesterday that he was a 4-year-old crazy little boy, like, going around in his scooter in the yard, but it was also a lifetime ago at the same time. Mm-hmm. It's so strange.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. That's funny. My son is also 12 and a half. So,
so
will he be 13 in the fall?
Oh, no, I probably shouldn't have said 12. My oldest just turned 16 and a half. No, my youngest is actually, he's 12 in a few months. He's a winter birthday. Yeah. But yeah, I'm sure. Close. So is yours in 6th grade?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So are you in the Sigma skibbity?
Yes.
The weird language that doesn't make sense.
Yes. Yeah. The brain rot language.
Yeah.
Yes. It's very funny.
So many words. And so then I just tease him and I just make fun of, I just say all the words in a series that don't make any sense together. And he's like, Mom, that doesn't make any sense. I'm like, I know. It doesn't make sense when you say it either.
Yes, I agree. All of those words are frequently used in our house. But what I love about Jack right now is that he's very meta about it, because he also was teasing it. So he's not using it actually as using it. He's using it as making fun of brain rot. Oh, and I appreciate that about him.
Okay. Yeah. No, my son really does use it. And I think he thinks they're kind of cool words. And I'm like, okay, buddy.
I've incorporated so many into my own language. For instance, there's a phrase that he says when he's gaming with his friends. It's let him cook. I don't know if your son says that, right? But that's one that we say now all the time. And I actually had a podcast interview the other day with this gentleman, Ned Johnson, who has a book called The Self-Driven Child. It's all about empowering kids. And so I brought that up in the conversation. I was like, yeah, just let him cook. Yeah. And he's like, I've never heard that. I was like, yeah, it's a good one. Yeah. When your friend is on a roll playing a game or something like that, you say, let him cook.
For sure. Well, and the funny thing is, I heard that one the other day. My son loves to cook, and he had a friend over and they were actually cooking, but the meal was so good that they were like, man, we cooked. And I'm like, yes, you literally did. But they meant it, like that they killed it with it was so funny. I was just like, what world am I living in right now?
It's true. What alternate universe is this? But I know exactly what they meant and what you meant, because they're like, oh man, we cooked. You're like, literally, you actually cooked.
But we did it too. I mean, looking back, the phrases we had, we did it.
Yeah.
And I'm sure our parents were like, what words are you saying? So.
Yes. I remember my mom being like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
There was a lot of slang in the 90s, so we can't say that there wasn't.
Oh my gosh, so much.
Yeah. No, it definitely was. And yeah, my son often makes fun of brain rot. But then at the same time, he'll come home and start singing songs about, I don't know, Sigma skibbity. Like, there was a song, it's like a Sigma man song. I don't know. It's stupid. It's stuff they say on YouTube.
That's where it all is. It's all from YouTube.
And then he's like, I got this song in my head. I can't get it out of my head. I was like, all right, well, go listen to something else to get that like earworm out. Because you're just walking around like, oh, he's a Sigma boy, Sigma boy, Sigma boy. That was how the song goes. I'm like, all right, buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
And it's so interesting to me, too, that because of the internet now, we all are having a very similar shared experience in raising these middle schoolers.
Yes, because are you New Jersey?
New Jersey,
okay, and
yes.
I'm in Wisconsin. I mean, right, like halfway across the country, same kid.
Yeah, literally. And my friend Dina Lang has a 12-year-old son, soon to be 13-year-old son, and our boys are the same person.
Yeah, I love Dina.
And it cracks up. I love Dina too. She is amazing. And that's the case. Like, our kids are the same. We've actually hung out in New York City twice, and the boys immediately hit it off, and they are so similar.
Oh, that's awesome.
Eerie. But again, it's because there are shared universal experiences that are going on right now. So the kids can talk about the same things. They like the same things. They're just in it, and it's very cool. It's cool when you get to meet your people, you know?
Yeah. The online, I actually talk about that a little bit too in the acknowledgement section of the book. Have all these really great friends that I've known for years that know, personal details about my life, and I've never met them in real life. That's what happens with being an online parenting writer. We all became friends, and many of us still have never met each other. It's so strange, but
yeah, same. Absolutely. I mean, all of my friends, people will say like, oh, you must hang out with so many people in real life. And I'm like, all of my friends are online. Yeah. Like, literally. Maybe like 2 or 3 people in person, but 9 times out of 10, my best friends, my closest friends, are the relationships that we met through Instagram, because we've been doing this for years. Yes. Our kids were growing up together. We were reading your articles, and we were reading all of the different things that, whether it was Scary Mommy or other websites, were putting out that's our shared experience. Those are our friends, and those are the ones that know us the best. And so we're very lucky about that. And I also want to speak about friendship, going back to the topic about what do we do when they grow up? Friendship is so important, because you'll be an empty nester. I'm going to be an empty nester. How can moms get out of their house, get out of their sweatpants, and spend time together in person?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. I mean, I do not know where I would be most days without just a few close girlfriends that are just the ones who pull me out of the muck. I think there's a few things. I think there's so much value in being friends with people who are going through the same phase as you, but also friends who have already done it, and friends who are going to go through it, because you can all pull each other along. Like the friend that I was talking about, my neighbor who lives across the street, we moved in to this house like 8 years ago, and we became pretty good friends, and her daughter was in high school. So I've watched her go through this transition. And I think some of these women who have done it before me, I tell them, whether you want to or not, you're my mentor. So sorry if you're not on board, because you are. I'm going to ask you a million questions. But then my 6th grader is my youngest. Most of his friends are the oldest in their household. So so many moms
That's the same with us too.
Yeah. So many of the moms have come to me to be like middle school was really terrifying for a lot of them this year. Whereas I was like, well, you'll be fine. They'll be fine. But when my first did it, I was terrified. And so I really love that as women and friends, we can not just the girls' night, which I love, of just go out, have a few glasses of wine, let loose, laugh, fill your cup, all that. But when it comes to motherhood, it is so hard. And, when they're little and they're toddlers, and you can tell other stories because if you're having potty training struggles, whatever it is, but as they get older and they want privacy and they deserve privacy, I don't put my kids' business online, so I'm not going to seek out that validation or that help necessarily with my writing. I'm going to go to a few close friends that I trust and be like, this is really hard and I'm really struggling. But also, when anything I go through with my high schooler, I always tell him, he's my first pancake. I do not know. You only have 1 pancake, so you really have to get it right.
I try really hard.
I got 3 chances, so I'm like, we're just going to mess up a lot with you. And then we'll, and he always laughs. He's like, thanks, Mom. But everything he does is just really scary, because I'm like, right now I'm learning how to be a mom of a child who's learning to drive. I don't know how to do that. I'm learning how to be a mom of a child who's looking at colleges. Don't know how to do that. So there's so much value in being able to be vulnerable and say to friends, I'm scared, I need help, and have friends who've done it before us reach down and kind of hold our hand and be like, I'll get you through. and then doing that for the next group,
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot. I often don't go to the people who have gone through it often enough. As you were talking about that, saying about moving in 8 years ago and having a neighbor, we moved into our house 8 years ago, and our neighbors had a daughter that was in high school at the time, and now she is in college. And I've never really reached out to them about that transition. I mean, I obviously saw it because I saw her graduate high school and go to college. She actually goes to my alma mater, so I was very proud about that. So I did have a little bit of say when they said they were interested in it. And I said, yes, do it, go. She's going to love it. And you know what? She went there and she loves it right now. So I'm very happy about that. But I've never really asked the mom enough about that. And I feel like I should. I feel like she would appreciate sharing her knowledge.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, I can't speak for everybody. Maybe for some people, they'd rather not. But I definitely feel like it's helpful to be able to pass on anything you've learned and just sit with people through the grief. There's so much grief in letting your kids go, regardless of whether you've been a stay-at-home mom, working mom, whatever. It's really hard. And to be able to sit there and be like, you can sit and be sad. It's okay. And I will sit in it with you.
Yeah. Now, next time I see her outside walking her dog, I'm going to stop and talk with her. Because now that you're saying, they only have one child too. So they were putting all of their eggs in that basket.
Yeah.
Yeah. So Karen, you had a viral post from several years ago, and you were talking about frozen ice pops, and you were holding up a bag of frozen ice pops. Why do you think that particular post resonated with so many families?
That was such a crazy experience. That was in 2017. Yeah. And it was funny because so many people have asked me over the years, like, what's the magic formula to going viral? There is no formula. It is a shot in the dark. I just kind of randomly wanted to talk about, I was finding myself really frustrated with this competition of what makes a good mom. And I remember in the post saying, can we all just get off of our high horse and realize that there are so many ways to be a good mother, and stop the, well, I'm a good mother because I feed my kids organic food. And I'm a good mom because we go to church on Sundays. And I'm a good mom because of this. We're all working so hard. Every mother I know, regardless of all of those extra labels, is giving everything she has. So I just sort of did this list of, good moms go to church or don't. Good moms have 1 kid or 5 kids. I know moms who are divorced who are wonderful moms. I know moms who are gay and there are 2 moms in their family and they're wonderful moms. It was just this huge long list, and it went crazy. It was shared hundreds of thousands of times. It had a reach of millions of people. And I think it resonated because it was what everybody really needs to hear. For me, my greatest struggle with motherhood has always been praying that I'm doing a good job for my kids, and the worry that somehow I'm messing it up. And when you have these messages, they're pummeling us with, well, you're not a good mom unless you XYZ. It's so damaging to our mental health. And so I think people just loved this supportive post that just said, we're all good moms. And at the end of the day, if our kids are loved and supported by us, like, that's pretty much the list. And I think that's what it was.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense because we're all looking for validation. We're bombarded with all of these different messages. Mm-hmm. Where do you think these messages really stem from?
I mean, a lot of people blame social media today, and I think that's a big problem, but it's generational. I mean, I don't really think our moms got through this without feeling some of these same negative feelings about motherhood. I think society puts a lot of pressure on mothers. Anytime a kid does something wrong, even today, it's still, well, where was the mother? And so we carry a huge burden from day one. I mean, for me, I knew I wanted to be a mom my whole life. I had this calling since I was a child, but you already start feeling the impact of the messages from, I think, an early age everywhere about the burden that mothers carry. And then you add in today in the modern day, when now you have social media saying, well, you're not a good mom if you, don't if you sleep train or don't sleep train, or if, you know, your toddler misbehaves in public and all these different things. I think it's just exacerbated today because now we have the internet. So it's even more than I think what maybe mothers of previous generations experienced.
Yeah, totally. I'm going to ask you a question that's piggybacking off of this concept, and I'm super curious to hear your answer. It's something that I ask all of my guests. And for the most part, 9 times out of 10, it's a similar answer, but every once in a while, someone surprises me. So here we go. What do you think is the biggest modern mom problem out there today?
I think today's mother is expected to do it all in a way that previous generations didn't experience. You know, a lot of people have talked about who necessarily has it harder. I think today's mom has, some things are easier. I really appreciate that I can order something online and have it appear at my doorstep 2 days later. My mom didn't have that. However, previous generations of moms were not expected to really get down on the floor, play with their kids. They were not expected to know where their children were every single second. They were not expected to enroll their children in 900 after school activities. And all of the expectations that used to be on moms of previous generations are still here on us today. And then there's a whole nother new pile. You know, growing up, I mean, I have a fabulous mom. She's amazing. She's a huge part of my life. But she was very busy when I was a child. She was always cooking and cleaning, getting all of the stuff done that she had to get done. And I was just like outside playing. And nowadays there's this pressure of, well, you have to know where your kids are every second. And my kids are in so many activities. And I know that I could say no and not put them in as many activities, but everyone else is doing all the activities. And I think the pressure on today's mom is that overwhelmingly heavy, what we are expected to carry. And it continues to intensify, I think, with each passing decade or even year. And there's no break. And we're expected to do all of it all the time in ways that previous generations, I don't think, did.
Yeah. Well said. That's a huge one. 9 times out of 10, like I said, people say social media comparison, and we sort of covered that earlier. But in my opinion, yes, I do think that that's an important one. But I think the bigger one, and sort of almost like, for lack of a better term, like the more sustainable problem, is the expectation of trying to do it all. Like you said, getting on the floor and playing with them and knowing all the right things to do and still cooking healthy meals and still driving them to their 8,000 after school activities and all of that and looking good and healthy and fit while doing it.
And so you have these messages, and not to say that this is bad if this is works for you, but you get up at 4 a.m. and do your workout because that's your only hour. I'm not getting up at 4 a.m. unless a baby is waking me up at 4 a.m.
Unless my house is on fire, I'm not going to get up at 4 a.m.
As some women that works for them, but like I have teenagers, I'm up till midnight half the time. Like and so we're finding more hours to get stuff done, but it's at the expense of our own sleep and our own well-being in other ways. And it's not sustainable. And I think that's why moms are so burnt out.
Yeah. 1,000%. Yeah, absolutely. I love your book as a 45-year-old mom with a 12-year-old son. It really resonates with me. I'm starting to think more and more about my long-term plans in terms of career and parenthood and all of that kind of stuff. I'm holding the book up for the people that are listening to it in audio. Where can we find What Do I Want to Be When They Grow Up?
It is for sale at all major book retailers. It's on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, Target, Bookshop, if you want to go independent bookstore route. I have all of the links on my social media and on my blog, the 21st Century SAHM.com. So hope you like it.
I do. I love it. Everyone, make sure that you're following Karen at the 21st Century Stay at Home Mom. What inspired you to reserve that as your name? Like when you were sitting down and you're like, I'm going to start an Instagram account or a blog, what inspired that?
You know, it's funny. The very first adventure I took into writing was, I think it was 2011 maybe. And everybody was blogging at the time. And I was going to start my own blog. And I called it Musings of a Non-Scrapbooking Stay-at-Home Mom, because I was realizing that I was not the kind of stay-at-home mom that I thought I would be. I didn't actually like crafting. I didn't actually like a lot of the things that I think I expected to like. And I was like, I'm just different than this image in my mind of what a stay-at-home mom is. I'm different from what my mom was. The blog never took off. I just never really figured it out. I ended up writing for other sites and making a name for myself. And then later on bought the domain 21stcenturystayatahomemom.com just to sort of house all my writing. But so over time, it just sort of manifested itself into the 21st Century Stay-at-Home Mom, because I have been a stay-at-home mom for 16 years, but I don't feel like I fit the mold of what it quintessentially has always been throughout time. And I think modern day stay-at-home mom is working from home. Modern day stay-at-home mom is doing things for herself. She may not have a clean house, because I don't. Doesn't love every minute of motherhood, like all of these things that I think maybe stay-at-home moms years ago didn't really maybe admit or talk about. So yeah, I kind of went from there.
Yeah, no, I love that. And when I started Modern Mom Probs, well, it originally had a different name. It was NYC Mom Probs because we were living in New York City. But when we moved to the suburbs and I changed the name to Modern Mom Probs, it was with the same thought in mind. It's like, what are we doing differently from previous generations? And it's all of those things that you mentioned right there.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I know. It's kind of funny when you look back at your whole journey of how the name like changed over time. But yeah, that's the story.
Yeah, I love that. You know how actually when I changed mine, I'll tell you, it was April of 2017. And I'm really good friends with Angela from Mommy Wine Time, who lives in Kansas City.
Yeah.
And she and I were DMing and I was like, I want to change the name. I need a new adjective. And she was just like throwing out different adjectives and I was throwing out different adjectives. And then I said, how about modern? And she was like, oh my God, Tara, I love it. And then I was like, boom, that's it. And so then I literally like flicked the switch the next day. I changed everything, changed the logo, changed the name on Instagram. And then it just went from there. But
and it helps because even though NYC is really cool, it's so niche.
It was so
Modern
niche.
Mom Problems is more evergreen and everybody can relate. Because I think when you hear New York City, people are like, well, that's not me because I live in Minnesota. Even though you have the same issues that a mom from Minnesota would have. But yeah, when you have something like Modern Mom Problems. So that's why, same with me. I went something just a little bit more like, I wouldn't say generic, but sort of like appeals to a wider audience. Yeah. It worked.
Yeah, no, it definitely did. Like for both of you and for me, I always tell people like I credit the name change that April of 2017 to the success of the account because we moved out to the suburbs at that point. That's why I knew I had to change the name because I didn't have New York City mom problems anymore. And then I was trying to figure out what kind of mom problems I had. And that happened to be Modern Mom Probs. And it was just so ubiquitous. And people were like, yeah, I have Modern Mom Probs too. Yes, that's me. And so it was more relatable to a wider audience. And I'm so grateful for that. And I'm so grateful to you, Karen. Thank you so much for coming on today.
Thank you. I loved being here. This is so fun. I've followed you forever. I'm so inspired by all you're doing. So keep doing it.
Thank you. I appreciate that. I get tired sometimes.
I know. Well, you have a lot of Modern Mom Problems. That's the thing. I mean, we can do our work, which is great and fills us up like intellectually and professionally, but we're still moms dealing with the stuff.
Yeah.
It's exhausting. We both have 12-year-old boys.
Yes.
And that in itself, I had to help him last night with an essay. My son hates to write. And I had to help him last night. I mean, I was like, it gave me COVID PTSD flashbacks. I was like, 12-year-old boys, man.
Yeah. No, it is. They're built different.
Oh my gosh, they are.
Karen, thanks so much for being here today.
Thank you. Talk to you soon.
Thanks for listening to today's episode of Modern Mom Probs. I hope you enjoyed our deep dive in today's problem with me, your host, Tara Clark. Join me next time when I'll be interviewing another great guest and tackling another modern mom problem. If you enjoyed today's episode, please leave us a review and a rating. As always, you could head over to Modern Mom Probs on Instagram and give me a follow, or check out my book, Modern Mom Probs, A Survival Guide for 21st Century Mothers, available online wherever books are sold. Well, that's it for today. See you next time, folks.